You're listening to The Signal Daily. Hi, I'm Shorburi, your host for The Signal Daily podcast. This is the episode for 21st June 2024. Today we're discussing the case of banks artificially inflating numbers. And in our second story, we discuss Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to North Korea and Vietnam. What does it indicate? Stay tuned till the end of this episode. The Reserve Bank of India shot for the moon with the launch of the e-rupee in December 2022. The bold aim was to hit 1 million digital currency transactions per day by the close of 2023. But that, honestly, was almost a Sisyphean task. Partly because Indians were already hooked on UPI. Sure, the e-rupee was India's digital form of fiat currency, powered by blockchain, but that was hardly enough to tempt users away from the tried and true UPI. Nevertheless, the RBI had launched the pilot, so banks had to follow suit, rolling out the respective digital currency apps. But as it was expected, more than half of 2023 passed, and the target of 1 million e-rupee transactions per day remained a far-off mirage. Even in October 2023, e-rupee was clocking an average of just 25,000 transactions a day. Now, whether or not the RBI met the elusive target it set for e-rupee is ostensibly a month-old story. But spoiler alert, against all odds, on 27th of December, 1 million transactions were indeed recorded. The new story is that the impossible milestone of 1 million transactions was crossed with feet of clay. In case you're wondering what I'm talking about, well, journalist Hemant Gairola's latest scoop for Article 14 reveals that at least 2 banks had pushed their staff hard to use e-rupee for transactions non-stop. One of them is Canara Bank. A screenshot of the WhatsApp group of bank employees shows the bank's chief digital officer Vishal Bhatia telling staffers, and I'm reading it out, quote, 72,000 plus employees have downloaded Canara Digital Rupee app and I want each of them to do at least 1 to 2 transactions each day, end quote. Another screenshot accessed by Article 14 shows Bhatia urging staffers to do 8 to 10 transactions each on 27th and 29th December. The Bank of Baroda also reportedly deployed the same strategy to bump up e-rupee transactions. So here's the kicker. A big chunk of those million digital currency transactions allegedly boils down to bank employees swapping piddly sums. These are basically transactions done just for the heck of it, all to inflate the numbers. Now, banks resorting to such tactics is very alarming to say the least. Not only does it hide failure, but also offers policymakers artificial data to work with. What's the big deal, you ask? So, last April, Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed e-rupee as a success story, while in reality, e-rupee has failed to take off with users. In our second segment, we are going to bring you deep dives on stories from the world of technology, business, policy, and anything that leaves you with food for thought. Russian President Vladimir Putin, who's been internationally isolated by the US and the West since the beginning of the Ukraine war, wants to show that he has friends and supporters, that he isn't alone. So recently, on 19th June, he went on a 2-nation tour in Southeast Asia to North Korea and Vietnam to forge stronger ties and flex his position. But far away, across the globe, the US is probably seething. To start off with the first leg of his Asia trip, Putin visited North Korea to strengthen military and trade relations. Now, this is one of the few countries that had supported Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So naturally, he got a very grand welcome from his North Korean counterpart, Kim Jong-un. Reportedly, Putin and Kim have vowed to help each other in the event of quote-unquote aggression against either country. While we don't know the full extent of what this pact entails, as FT reports, Putin compared this defense partnership with North Korea to how NATO's relationship with Ukraine has been since the war began. As you may know, NATO has been supplying Ukraine with weapons and fighter jets to use against Russia. So perhaps Putin was indicating that Russia and North Korea have secretly signed an arms deal. Maybe it's a move to get help from North Korea, as it's been previously reported that Russia's weapons stock is dwindling. In any case, North Korea has already been accused of supplying Russia with arms to use against Ukraine in violation of international laws. Still, at the moment, it's all very speculative. It's hard to tell exactly how this agreement will affect Russia's war against Ukraine. While this short trip has alarmed Japan and South Korea, the real itch for the US is Putin's Vietnam visit, where he met with the country's communist leaders, including the new president, To Lam. Now, the thing is, the US, which is Vietnam's biggest trading partner, has been banking on the manufacturing powerhouse to be on its side, to be a part of its clique, and to have a strategic bond when it comes to tech and military amid growing tensions with China. China, which also wants to counter America, has formed strong ties with Russia as they are united by the common goal of countering the US's geopolitical might. So where does Vietnam come in exactly? Well, to put it simplistically, you'd want your friend to give your enemy a stink eye in solidarity, right? But that's not how Vietnam reacted to Russia. While the country is on the same page as the US in curtailing China's powers as it feels threatened by it, with Russia, it has had friendly diplomatic relations going as far back as the Soviet era when the USSR had supplied it with arms to fight the US in the 1960s. In fact, the lion's share of Vietnam's arms imports historically has come from Russia. Honestly, geopolitical relationships are as complicated as real-life relationships, right? But anyway, in reaction to this visit, the US reportedly said, quote, "No country should give Putin a platform to promote his war of aggression and otherwise allow him to normalize his atrocities," end quote. But Vietnam is clearly playing a balancing act with the US and Russia. It's not countering the US and the West's trade sanctions on Russia, but at the same time, it's also not close to friendly ties with the country. And though Russia is not a major trading partner for Vietnam, it is planning some projects in the country. For instance, Russian energy firm Novatek plans to launch liquefied natural gas or LNG projects in Vietnam. Putin also spoke of plans to quote-unquote establish a center for nuclear science and technology in Vietnam with the support of Russia's state-owned nuclear energy giant, according to Bloomberg. But will there be some pushback from the US? We'll just have to wait and watch for that. If you like listening to The Signal Daily, please show some support. Rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We'd love to hear what you have to say about this podcast. So feel free to shoot an email at hello@thesignal.co. This episode was researched, written and produced by me, Shorbari, and Anoop Sembal. Edited by Dinesh Narayanan. Mastered and mixed by Yash Hilve. You can catch this podcast every morning on Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime Music, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are thesignal.co on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter.